Welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to introduce a resource that we can use for, basically one, debugging, and second, sending these requests, right? Plus, we are going to see the types of HTTP requests, right? Right. So before we see the types, let me just download the resource because that will actually help us understand the types better, right? Great. So that resource is named Postman, right? So you just click Postman, you type Postman in Google, get the first link here, you go to download the app, and you can download it and you can follow the instructions given. I already have it, so of course I'm not going to download it. And you should in the end get something like this. I'll open this up, right? So I recommend that you pause the video, you press download here. So this is a zip file being downloaded, and as soon as this is downloaded, I guess I can open this and just follow the instructions to download Postman, right? And once you have, then you need to open that up, right? So it will take some seconds to start up. Great. So now we have Postman open here, right? Excellent. So now you may not have all of this. I'll close this. Too many of them. Right. So this is what you will have, right? And yeah, something like this. So you will have this, kind of a search bar. You will have this menu, and you will have a lot of, params, authorization, headers, body, blah blah blah, a lot of things, right? So this is the basic of what Postman looks like. And what you can do in here is you can send requests through this particular search bar, right? And before we send a request, we need to know what this menu means, right? And first, I'll just write my URL. Let's say I want to give a request to www.google.com, right? And now I want to send a GET request. So what does a GET request actually mean, right? So this is what we had, and if you remember, in the request response cycle, there was this one thing named as verb, right? And the verb is actually what this GET is, right? So all of these here are HTTP verbs, sorry, yeah. Now HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, so it's just simply a protocol, right? And you don't need to remember that full form. So it's just a protocol, but these are all the verbs that we have. Now what does a verb do, right? So we'll be handling requests and responses a lot in the course, right? That's evident. So what this verb actually does is it tells us that, okay, this is a GET request, meaning that the type of this request is GET. And don't worry what all of these mean. We are going to study GET, POST, put and delete mostly, because that can add the basic functionalities to any site, and we'll see them in detail as we move along, right? But just to give you an overview, right? And put and patch are both used for the same thing. So GET is basically the type of request you will make when you are trying to get data, right? So for example, I want to get some data from google.com. I want to get their homepage, right? So I can just select GET, and I can select www.google.com, and I can press send. So here I get back the the HTML that I would get, that would be rendered when I go to Google, and you can press on this preview, and this will give you a non-styled kind of a version, right? And so some things that you need to see here, right? First, this. Now this is the raw that we had, and this is what you would see if you do view page source on Google, and this is just put into some readable format by Postman for us. And this is the HTML behind the homepage of Google that you would get if you wrote www.google.com in your browser search bar right here, right? So this we've made a GET request, meaning that we want to get this data back, right? And right, the next thing is this status, meaning that this opens up something if we hover over it. Standard response for successful HTTP requests. Basically, if you are getting a status of 200, means that your request was successful and you have got back what you were looking for. If I type something like this, I get status of 404 not found, meaning my page was not found. And if I go to preview, it says 404, that's an error. The requested URL was not found on this server. That's all we know, right? So here you can see I'm getting some data from the server. I'm basically sending the server request to send me something back, right? And that is why I've used a GET request. Now the next is a POST request, right? So POST we cannot see for now because we don't know the POST routes of Google, but we'll use the POST route when we are actually, debugging our own codes. And what POST does is, so I'm saying POST route, right? So POST route basically means POST request, right? You'll understand the exact meaning of a route just in a few videos from now. But POST request basically is the type of request that you would make when you are sending some data to the server. And let's say you're sending a data that I want to register this user with you, right? So you will be sending the user data from the browser to the server, right? Because the server is the thing that will handle the backend. And if you want to add the thing to the backend, then you of course need to have the thing in the server too, right? And to send it from the browser to the server, you will use a POST request. And you cannot send the data through a GET request, right? And like you are sending some data at some times, like very small data. Like if we go to Reddit again, reddit.com/ and search slash so this is like you could go to Reddit and search solar for that. I just remember this URL because we just saw this in one of the previous videos, and this is actually found through the backend, right? So yeah, there must be some small mistake in this, but if you search for solar here, yeah, oh, I forgot the Q as I don't know how, but yeah, I forgot the Q. But anyway, so here we are after this question mark. What we're sending here is a parameter, right? So in this URL, this is a GET request to reddit.com/search, and then we are saying that the search term we are looking for is solar, right? And similarly, if you select a GET request here to reddit.com, and in this params, so this what actually this is a parameter, right? This is a search parameter that we have sent through a request parameter, right? So after everything after this question mark will be a parameter, and you'll be giving values, right? Say I wanted to give another value that I know fruit is banana. So in this request, obviously this reddit.com is not expecting a fruit, and they have no logic to handle a fruit, but they're expecting this queue. And what they do is in their database where they have all their posts stored, they search for solar and they return that to us, right? So we have passed a term through the request, and even though this is just a GET request, right? Every request that you will be making by writing something here will be a GET request, right? That is always sure. Why? Because through the browser you can just request data, you cannot send data. You can send data through forms and things like that, but whenever you're writing something up here, that's a GET request. But in this GET request we are sending some data, and that is like this is the maximum amount of data I can have. Obviously you can't have like a whole user data in here, right? You can't have 20 fields in here and handling that on the back end. So the thing is that we can send very small amount of data, but that through the URL. Right? If this was a post request, you would not need to have these things in here, right? And this would just be slash search, and the data would be sent in some other way, right? So here I see if I type the key, and I want my key to be Q, and I want its value to be solar, right? And now if I press send, I see a status of 200, and your requested URL has been blocked as per the directions received, and that is because the URL includes slash search here, right? So now if I send this, and this is my URL, my key is Q, and my value here is solar. If I press send, right? So I do get something back like 200, okay? Even though this is a really weird response, I don't even know why that's happening. But we are getting some response, means the server was expecting something like this, right? So this is what a now again, you might be a little confused as to what I'm actually saying here. I've said a lot of stuff, but I'm basically introducing you to the types of HTTP requests, which we will be spending loads and loads of time on later on. But for now, I'm just giving you the basic idea. So you just need to know, okay, GET request is for getting data, POST request is for sending data, right? If you want to register a user, you will place a POST request to the server, and that will handle that for you, right? If you want to update something, then you can use put and patch, right? Like you already have a user, but you want to update his name, let's say. So for that, you would use put or patch requests, and delete as evident will be used when you need to actually delete something, right? So this is just a method to actually tell the browser what we are aiming to do with our request, right? Tell the server what we are aiming to do with our request. So that's all that art is, and you can use all of these, and we will spend a lot of time on these, and I'm sure you will get really comfortable with them, so don't worry about that. But yeah, so this is what it is, and we have the headers here, which has a lot of things like the content type is text or HTML, content length is 342, the length here would be 342, right? And connection close, that's some different thing, right? So we are getting a lot of data back here, and this is the main HTML. What we will be using this for mostly in our course is that whenever we are making a site, like, and we are testing it locally, then we will send requests through this, and we will see if we're getting something back, like mostly for debugging or something, right? Right. So this was like a really basic thing to that, and this was the new software I was talking about. We'll use Postman a lot when we are debugging things, because if something is not working, that involves a lot of routes. What we can do is we can simply come up here, place a route, see if that is working below, and if that's working, we can go on to the next route, and so on. So basically, if I'm doing this here or I'm doing this here, there's no difference, right? And this is just the same thing, no difference at all, right? Because in the end, you're sending a GET request to the server asking for this URL right here. Even if you're doing that through here or you're doing that through here, doesn't matter, right? So this was the resource and the types of requests, and that is it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.